Hello, welcome to Vigilant, the podcast where we discuss issues concerning Nigerian society, uncovering issues and exploring pathways to positive change. I'm your host, Favor Ayer, and in today's episode, we are tackling a pressing issue that affects millions of young Nigerians: the challenge of low JAMB score. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board exam is a critical milestone for students aspiring to pursue higher education in Nigeria. But recent statistics reveal a troubling trend. Over 1.4 million students scored below 200, raising concerns about the accessibility and quality of education in Nigeria. Joining me today to discuss this issue is Mr. Odiawa AI and, as always, Miss Grace. And we've had some things over the few days. Someone got 21 over 400 in JAMB. I like if I not go at all, if I just stay house, because that's waste of time, waste of energy. But then I used to tell people there are always two sides to a story. So we might not have known what happened over there that made them to score that. But what we know is that JAMB has said something, and they said that there is mass failure, 1.4 million. The rest, I don't even the rest, out of the rest is just 7,000 plus that made it above 300. So that's a very poor statistics. That shows that something is happening to the educational system, and that's why I thought it wise that we talk about that on today's podcast. So, Mr. Diawa, I would just want to start with you, and I would like to know what you think about this news. When you heard it, what came to your mind?
Thank you, Phil, for having me. Likewise, Grace. What I have to say about the mass failure, which is a trending issue, is like they used to say, when you fail your jam back then, jam don't jam out.
Okay.
So that fellow particularly who had 20 something over 400 actually deserves an endorsement from jam. Like say, I love jam.
Okay.
A situation whereby there's this mass failure, it has, I would say, number one, JAM has really upped its game in preparations for exams. Back then, there was a lot of malpractice within the JAM sector. That's why they brought up this issue of post-UME. I remember I'll probably say we started the post-UME.
Okay.
So post-UME was to ascertain whether you actually passed that JAM exam by the school. That was why the post-UME was initially
That's true. That's true.
So a situation whereby you have this mass failure, I would say, in my own opinion, that it was a case of computer literacy. How literate were the students able to even make use of a computer to partake in the exams?
Okay.
Because now it's no longer theorized, it's digitalized now.
Okay, so Grace, what do you think of the news?
Yeah, adding to what Odio just said, is about the computer illiteracy of this present generation.
Yes.
I can use myself as an instance. I think JAMB stopped doing a written exam. I think 2012, if I'm not mistaken. That was my first JAMB actually. So the next JAMB I was to sit is CBT.
Okay.
And I could remember then I did not really have any knowledge about
Computer-based exams.
Then how do you now want me as a student that did not know about anything computer to have knowledge about the exam? It's not. This is not as if a student is not intelligent now. This is about the manner or the way the exam is going about now. So it's as if for the preparation of the exam, first, JAMB ought to have introduced this computer learning facility before introducing, not them just diving into the system of CBT. I think that is one way of that have contributed to this mass failure.
Okay, I think Mr. Diawa said something about JAMB upping their game, and they really did, because it was actually very difficult for the first people that keyed into the system of writing computer-based exam. But then subsequent generations, we did something called mock exams. Yes, you have to go and just sit for a trial, and just for you to feel how it will be for you on the D-Day. So you just sit and just write. They'll tell you, this is how your JAMB is going to be. So most people were able to have that knowledge, that experience before they even went into the exam hall. But that's JAMB actually upped their game. But if they up their game 100%, what happened last year would have not have happened. Like, we know what happened about Ejike Mesoma.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they still have some loopholes where they should, and I don't even know if it is the fixing of the loophole that contributed to what happened this year. Okay. Because there is how you'll be trying to fix something, and now you touch certain places that you shouldn't touch, and it becomes problem to some other people. But well said, JAMB, they up their game, and I think they are doing a good job, and they are also being honest with whatever they are doing. I'll go over to the next point of discussion, and that is, whose fault is it?
Do I go first or ladies first from
Anyway, we can start anywhere.
Okay, let me go first, because Ojawa is the master here today for today's show. So let me go first before he give us the whole summary of what he has for us today. So whose fault? We have talked about this globalization and technological advances of introducing CBT and all of that. You have to think about those students in the remote area where they did not have access to all these facilities that enhance them to prepare for these exams. Do you understand? This is not about them not having intelligence or capability to face the exam, but the system in which is introduced to the exam. So they don't know about it. Do you understand? And we have issue of economical issue in the society. It's another factor. So we cannot just be channeling it on the students alone. Though we know that this generation of us, school don't come up for our minds. Yes.
I think they took that school as scam.
That's it. Whereby a child is always hearing every day school and scam from the elder brother, from the elder sister that have just graduated, and you still want the child to prepare for this year. Come on now. So like the economic situation of the society or of the country have affected the system of education that affect JAMB also, this mass failure of JAMB, where you can see a child that only eats 1 square meal a day. Do you get? A child that only eats 1 square meal. How do you want the child to have that strength or that capacity to say this is the next thing to do after eating, or to take my book to read or prepare harder? So that's another problem. And cultural attitude towards formal education. Cultural attitude, we can see in the northern side of the country, whereby the Hausas, this issue of formal education, they don't take it serious. So, and it's still the same JAMB that every student will write in the outside of the country, the northern side, they will use 150 to enter school. So ask me now how we, and they have, some of them have the money. Even if when a child know that even if I did not meet the requirements, there is a maneuver way my parent can do it for me, which we are talking about the corruption that is affecting the school system again. So that's the little I have to say.
In adding to what you said about northern students, I think banditry has a way of affecting them also.
Okay.
Because you look at adoption, things that are happening, it makes them less serious about education. So most of them are just doing it to fulfill
even before the banditry, we know the educational system in the
yes,
north now.
but at least it's adding to it. Come
definitely.
on, 17 over 400, that's a lot. Mr. Diawa, what do you have to say?
To add to what you guys have actually said, I would say the failure, what has actually caused it, is multifaceted, because we could go into listing several factors. Number one, let's start with the country. How conducive is the climate for a student to actually read for an exam and then pass?
Okay.
Because you will need to feed, because these exams are brain tasking. So if they are brain tasking, something needs to be in your belly to exercise your brain. A situation whereby you've not eaten, you cannot read or study properly to pass that exam. Secondly, the parents also. For instance, a child wants to read theater arts. It's imposed on that child must read law. The situation whereby the child actually goes into that JAMB or fills in for reading law and then fails, he receives condemnation, criticization, or even crucifixion from the father particularly. And when he fails that exam, the morale to write the next exam is not there. So there are things you need to even look into. Then you talked about this cultural setting, a situation whereby you're not meant to go to school. Let's go into the northern part of Nigeria. Girls are relegated to the background. Why? Because it is forbidden that they shouldn't get into school. So those who are even privileged will find it difficult to even keep up. Why? Because there's a segregation even when they get into the higher institutions. So these are factors that even bring down the morale. Then you also have the students on their own parts also.
Yes.
Some are of the notion of, like you said, school and scam. Why? Because they have an older one who actually went to read law and ends up becoming a very
POS attendance
or a very good fashion designer. So these are the things, and he begins to say, okay, school and scam. That's where the Gen Z generation now sets in.
So these things that you people have talked about are more like the root causes of all these things. You said something about the condition of things, and drawing from that, I want to talk about the condition of the environment. JAMB is up there. I don't know where their headquarters is, but there are over 1 million centers for JAMB. So you don't even know the condition of that very JAMB center. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. I wrote my first JAMB in a library in Unizik, and it was air conditioned everywhere. The space was enough.
I'll give you another example after that.
Okay, everywhere was so cool. So when I wrote my JAMB, my head was settled. That was my first JAMB. I wrote very well. Nobody disturbed us. Just write, stand up, and start going. We worked with our own time, with the time JAMB gave us. I finished writing, logged out, and went home. Jejely. No issues at all. And when my result came out, it was it's not fine, it was pretty. But my issue there was that my SSCE exam was not out, so I couldn't enter school that very year. Then, the next JAMB I wrote, it was somewhere in Imo State. I just chose Imo State because I want to move away from home to go and look at other states, and so I just and I was missing one particular friend, so I wanted to use the opportunity to go and see her in IMSU.
After you tell us now.
So when I got to my exam was, I think, 8 or 9, but it was in the morning. I woke up very early, took a bus to the primary school that was my center. When we got there, the first set was still writing. We waited until they were done, just for us to start our own exam. The network we just disconnected, and they said, "Oh, we cannot go on with it. We have disconnected from the headquarters." What is all this? So, and funny enough, I didn't leave with my phone because I was thinking I would just write my exam and I start going home. So there was no connection, nobody to call to tell them, look at what's happening. I have to wait. Our exam has been shifted. So I just stayed back. And after they tried to reconnect, before we knew it, it was already 1 p.m. From that 1 p.m., JAMB now called and said that they have taken us to, they should take us to another center in Owerri. Or it's like in another town. So from there, that's my first time in Imo State. So I was just following the crowd. We are chasing after a bus. Now, person will go right Jambo. We are just chasing after a bus to get to Owerri.
And before you get there,
I've not ended. The story is just, we are just...
She's still airborne.
It's imagined. So I was just following. So funny enough, I couldn't even get a bus. It was another man that came with his child, and he was told that they have been moved to social center. The man now volunteered and carried some of us to the center. When we got there, the people that were writing exams there were still writing their exams, and we had to wait for them till 6 p.m. This was an exam that was scheduled for 9 a.m. We were there till 6 p.m. and then coming to 6 p.m. that day, it was one of the worst days of my life. So we now entered from that 6 p.m. For us to start exam, fire started somewhere in that hall. Imagine you are writing JAMB, about to say, run for your life, oh. My God.
Now, with that incident which actually took place, it's kind of destabilizing.
Wait, we are not. So what we did, we all started. It was a story building. I think we were at the 4th or 5th floor. So imagine we were running and falling. And I was around 15. Like, imagine what I've started facing just because I want to enter the university. So we are falling. You know, when there is a fire accident, everyone is trying to run to be the first. At the end of everything, do you know, JAMB, when they found them, they said that nobody should leave. They should stay back. They are going to write the exam that very day. That was so
around what time is that?
Inhumane. By this time, it was...
No, it's not just inhumane. Assuming that fire had also burnt people.
Imagine.
JAMB will bring up another story of arson.
I was just thinking I was all alone. Nobody to call because I wasn't with a phone. I was just there, stranded. We are waiting. Parents started coming to look for their something, like the chaos was just too much. My child is no longer writing again. Please allow her to. I was just there. I was lost in thought. And after that, they now called some electricians that started fixing. After they have quenched the fire, they started refixing everything. By the time they were done, it was 11 p.m. in the middle of the night, somewhere in Owerri. I've not been there all of my life. So, and I left 6 a.m. in the morning to come and write JAMB. When we finally started writing the exam, sorry, I forgot. Some people fainted that day. People that came to write exam. So when I finally started writing, I was just, okay, just click A, click B, just do anything.
No, by first to enter school.
So you start going, at least you have tried. My brain was already blank. I was not thinking about anything. I was stressed. I started calculating, like when I was calculating how my day went from morning to 11 p.m. So I was just, the exam was just, I couldn't even like read to understand. I was like, I don't even know this one. B, A, D, just clicking. I just wanted to leave. So imagine that, that obviously they are going to record a mass failure from that very center. But then they will not tell people the backstory. Look at what these children suffer. They will not tell you, JAMB will just come, statistics, this very center, very poor.
So if I get you right now, the part of JAMB, they've shied away totally by blacklisting their inefficiency.
Yes, they will not, so many centers, this is just one. So imagine what will be going on. Owerri is a town, a developed area. So imagine what's happening in remote places where there are no connections, but then they just want to fix a center there. So I think there are so many underground works that needs to be done before you start saying that there was mass failure. What led to the mass failure? Because I don't believe that someone can, even if you are clicking, and you come out with 21/400.
Well,
how convenient.
Actually, I think every stakeholder has to engage in one thing, which is planning. The organizers of the exams, the students, the parents, everyone involved needs to involve themselves in planning, particularly from the part of JAMB. Now, take for instance, now they've disconnected from the headquarters. If I may be getting you right,
Yes.
Now, it's a case of how strong was the network Paraventure now we have 4G. We now have 4G LTE, which is long-term evolution. Now, a situation whereby JAMB is not making use of a 4G LTE network, now that's a big issue. Now you're making use of a 4G, fine, that is quite tolerable. Now, as remote areas now, which you describe now, those people might not be able to afford a 4G. They might be reliant on probably maybe 3G, which might be rolling like forever. Which will now cause someone like you now to engage in a fire exam.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You know that it was like a movie to me when how they got to find me, because from there I didn't know my way back to IMSU. So the girl, they imagine I left 6 a.m. So she went to school, came back, I was still not there. So she had to go to my center, the first center that I was allocated to, and they told, people from this center were directed to your. So they had to start finding me in Owerri, and they came to.
Never know about.
I didn't even know, it was just a miracle. I was just, because there were 1,001 people there in that compound, so I was just roaming around in darkness. She just tapped me and called my name. I was like, oh God.
And
so
how strong was insecurity back then?
I know. I think over there, and Imo State was still cool. That was 2017. It was still cool enough for people to be moving. So I started exam that I left for 6 a.m. I went before we got back to her lodge. It was 12 midnight.
So you practically did an exam for 24 hours.
I thought of it. I was like, what's my mom going to say? They would tell, out of every place you said you're going to Imo, look at what happened. And when my result came out, I did my best, but I knew like I would have done better if I won. It was post-UTME that saved me. Because when I wrote, my score was very high. So the aggregate was now up to what I wanted. If not, I don't know.
There's something they used to call students who would not pass JAMB but be at home. They call it uni-home or homeschool.
Okay. So I think we have talked about students that are not doing well on their own part. We have talked about root causes, but then I think JAMB is missing it somewhere, because coming from the story that I've told, you might not have known what went on in all of those centers across the country. You just come out and say, there was mass failure, there is mass failure, whatever. But then tell people what actually happened, what led to do you know that some people will go to write JAMB and they will not know when they will click submit?
Yes.
And JAMB cannot do anything for them.
Concerning that, there should be, like, when JAMB was manually organizing exams, there was always a
supervisors.
Brochure. No, not
broke you, yes,
there was a brochure back then, before which will be given to you or handed over to you before you start the exam.
But even if there was that mistake, there is a way you can reverse it for that student. Imagine, like this is a computer. You might not know where your hand will click.
There should be a technical supervisor.
And nobody there will want to help you. They tell you, yeah, you're done with your exam, because that's the only way someone can come out with 17 over 400. I'm telling you that. Because
no matter how dull the person is.
You're writing an exam of over 400. Even if you are clicking, let me click
yes or no.
You not get 50, 100.
Every computer-based system is usually in a dialogue-based format. There should be a prompting to even let you know, are you sure you want to submit?
Exactly.
Is there a dialogue box also? That's another thing.
When I was writing, it was just once you click submit, that's the end of the exam.
You are logged out.
And the way they would say, stand up, you're done. So I didn't know when they said stand up. So this, number one, most of them we are not taking through how to use those computers or how to write computer-based tests. So when they get there, they start flopping and making mistakes, and you cannot even assist them or reverse those mistakes for them. I've checked it in as much as I blame this generation because they are not serious. Everyone is after TikTok, iPhone 14, iPhone 15, but then there are places that this board is missing it too. And we should not ignore that. I think we've dwelled a lot on this, and we should go over to what are the implications of these things. A student fails JAMB. What does it imply? There is mass failure in JAMB. What does it imply? What are the implications, whether on the person or on the country at large?
To start with, mention the country now. Let's start with the country now.
Okay.
For every sector now, there's always a body that's always ranking a country based on some indexes.
Yeah.
Now, there are bodies now which will rank schools in Africa, which is most performing. Who are the top 5? There are bodies which will rank, okay, who's the poorest? So a situation whereby students will begin to fail exams, that means there should be an IQ board that will actually rank and position the nation at a particular level, saying, okay, so age bracket between the male and the females. This is how high they are on IQ and this is how low they are on IQ. These are the implications we should look at. So if it is going to be a positive report, it's more kudos to us. But if it's going to be a negative report, it's going to be damning to the nation at large. And also to the nation now, within now, it's a case of human resources lacking intellectual property and capacity to even keep up, to come outside to make sure that, okay, yes, how do we move the country forward based on expertise? Because a situation whereby there's a brain lag where you can't pass exams.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, now coming from the kind of encounter you had in an inferno exam, you say, okay, there's fire outbreak in an exam hall. That's enough to destabilize anybody who wants to write an exam. And you come back in, possibly you're going to get 28 as this fellow got. So that's from the country now within now. Now coming over to the teachers on their own part, the lecturers on their own part. I have been in a lecture hall back then while in higher institution whereby a lecturer would dish out handouts and 20 minutes is only dedicated to a 2-hour lecture. Why? Because he came in before the lecture is coming in towards the end of the lecture. And once you don't buy that handout or purchase that handout, you fail. And the handouts are quite bulky. There are no explanatory measures given. So by the time you begin to look at all that, a student who is naturally lazy will not have the zeal to even, or be encouraged to even, read through. Then we now also come to the students on their own part. They owe themselves a responsibility for self-development. Because you can't tell me you're using the latest gadgets of probably we have phones now which are from 150,000 to 500,000, even 1 million still counting.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you are computer literate only on social media. For instance, now you're someone who is reading human resources in school and you need to fill in a management role upon finishing school. How conversant are you with all those HR softwares? So we need to do self-development starting from that phase also. So these are the implications we need to look at, whether they are going to be positive or negative.
Okay. Grace, what do you think are the implications?
Yeah, a poorly workforce can hinder economic growth, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as Odiawa have stated, this mass failure scores, it now shows that means fewer skilled professionalism is in within the country. Do you understand? Whereby, just as you have used it, okay, let's even look at into academical sector, where a lecturer, even the lecturer that is taking you, if you get to know most of them, they don't even have the this capacity to even teach you as a student, the qualification to teach you as a student. Do you get?
Yeah.
So I think I one school around Central North or North Central, Ilorin to be precise, is Ilorin that a lecturer will be teaching you in Yoruba, will be teaching you English in Yoruba. Well, definitely. It's funny, but that's just the true fact. A lecturer will be teaching you English with Yoruba. I could remember an incident that happened one day in my classroom, and a girl from the eastern part of the country, east part of the country, an Igbo girl. Yeah. She was in my class then. So as this lecturer was lecturing us, they like using, let me say, code switching to the indigenous language. So this girl did not understand what the lecturer was saying. The girl have to say, "Sir, please, I don't understand what you are saying. I did not understand this indigenous language." Yes. Do you know what the lecturer responded? I used to respond to the student. He said, "Is there no school in your state before you?"
That was rude.
If an academic personnel is telling a student that then you can see the what we are talking about. Then this issue of brain drain, whereby we cannot use this JAMB tests run to test the intelligence of a student, to justify the intelligence of a student or any student, be it Nigeria or anywhere, because we have just highlighted some factors that can affect a student in Nigeria. So many factors, economic factors, environment, infrastructure factors, and all of that. So whereby a student now that maybe his or her parents are doing enough to fly them abroad, since they are in abroad, the academical sector, they don't recognize JAMB. They don't recognize. So if I can fly my child abroad to go and study there, neglecting this JAMB issue and JAMB problem, then that means we are losing some potentials in the country, which is now it will now be like the economic of the country, or the societal growth of the country will now be dropping, whereby some potentials that ought to have add value to the society are running abroad for their academic pursuit. So that's it.
I think what you said about JAMB not justifying the level of intelligence of Nigerian youths, I think that's true, because even back then in uni, I know students like myself that are very good with written exams, theory exams. I can write 10 pages. But one thing about CBT is that you have to read in between the lines. You have to know every single thing. And they might just pick something from a particular part of a book or a test. And if you don't know it, you don't know it. But that doesn't mean that you don't know anything at all. So some students are very, very good with written exams. And also, considering the time frame, when you have been timed and it's running, you are looking at it, it's running, some people are just anxious. They don't want to like finish up late, or the thing to shut down. And I'm just talking about the nature of the JAMB examination. So most students, or some students, might not be comfortable with it. And coming to the implications, I think one of the implications is that it makes Nigerian students to settle for less. When I talk about settling for less, you see somebody that wanted to study law, because most art students want to study law, and you now discover that they don't want to be at home. And just because they don't want to be at home, just give me any course, let me go, let me just leave home. I don't want to stay here, my mates are leaving. I scored 150. Can you give me library and information science? Let me just go there and be carrying books. It's actually, library and information is actually a good course. But if you look at it, it's not their dream. It's not where they want to be. But because of the low score, they just want to be anywhere. They don't want to be at home. Let me just go to school, polytechnic, college of education. Even people that don't have that teaching skill or anything in them, but let them just leave. So it lowers or diverts their potential. Okay,
sorry to cut you short.
Yeah.
What's of a situation whereby even as a student, this is what I want to study as a student, and I have seen cases where even someone said, okay, this is what I want to study, and the person meets cutoff mark of that particular course. It's now get to a place where it is not the course and I have the cutoff mark, so it can dampen any morale of a student. Well, if I get the cutoff mark, I did not get the cutoff mark. Any course.
No, let me tell you something about the cutoff mark. Every department already has a quota of how many students they are going to admit.
Okay.
And it's not only you that pass the cutoff mark. There are other students.
My dear, we can still see some instances where those people that don't even meet the cutoff mark are being admitted in that same department.
What is it called? They are from a particular region that are being opportunity. I think it's called on
slot.
It's written even in my school this thing that these people from so region if they get up to this score, they can be offered courses like this. So you can't expect someone that studied in the north that bandit, they chase them every day. You'll be in school, they will shoot. So
this is not even about band. I'm bringing it from the angle of corruption now.
And there's corruption obviously in Nigeria, but I'm telling you, in most, like as kids, most of us, we get to the court of mark and you're not given admission, you start crying. But the truth is that you were not the only one that
start
passed.
crying because you are too little to understand.
It's when you grow up that you understand that you were not the only one that sat for the exams, and the other people also passed the court of mark, and the department has a number of people that they can admit in a particular session. So you can actually pass the court of mark, but there is a competition. But I know it's obvious that there is corruption. There are people that bribe their way to classes to get admission. But if you see those ones, you go actually know them. You go know them. And I think another one is continuous rewriting of exam. There are people I know, they have sat for JAMB 7 to 8 times.
You didn't meet someone like I met someone that wrote JAMB for close to, I think, 15 times. That was my first JAMB.
Me in person, I wrote JAMB 4 times.
Okay.
So I wrote JAMB. It was not as if I don't pass it.
Sitting for JAMB once in Nigeria, if you sit once and pass, is a miracle.
No, you need to get to the altar.
There's a particular time they don't need to type my name. If they just write the 2 first letter of my name,
it will appear.
Because I'm not a regular I'm not a regular customer.
Oh, imagine your life is halted for 7 to 8 years. One place, you have not moved. Because I've seen people, okay, they'll say, let's just start business. But when you get to business, where your mind is in education. And you find those people, they continue writing. At the point, they will get frustrated.
Definitely.
And they'll start staying at home.
And
they don't know
what of whereby the economic states now. Maybe your parents went to go and borrow that money that you went to go and register JAMB. So just with your instance now, it's not as if you did not prepare. It's because of their negligence of 1 or 2 things. So because of that, maybe thank God for your luck that maybe you were able to use that JAMB to enter school. For those that maybe they were not.
Do you know that lady that fainted? When she was revived, she still sat for that exam.
And how do you
imagine?
She might not even pass the exam. And maybe that kind of people now, maybe their parents went to go and borrow money to register for that JAMB seat. Do you understand? How then do you now expect a parent to go and borrow another money? Or you understand? Whereby we think that we are progressing. You are actually bringing us back. So that's another factor.
For most people, education is the only pathway. And once they don't make it educationally, there's no way again. Let's just leave it. That's the end of life for them. So that's why you see people, they'll keep on trying and trying. I have a brother.
Will you say it's education or people not being informed?
I don't know what to call it again. I just feel I should
they do tell us that education is the key. Why the padlock self is already
lost. My brother wrote like several times, but he actually advised himself and was like, no,
maybe it's not my calling.
This is not my calling.
This is not my destiny.
These people are not going to haunt my life. Let me go and find something. And where he is actually doing well. But then he still has his mind on education and said, maybe when I'm done with this one.
Was it that he's not intelligent? That's it.
First.
So you cannot use it to justify.
So it's just like something is always the problem. My mom was like, is it spiritual? Should we start praying? But you find out that whenever he comes back, there's always one story or the other. Look at what happened at the center. You might just be thinking it's all about the environment was chaotic, but it has a way it impacts on those children's brain. It will make you not to concentrate or perform very well. I just think these are the few implications. Aside that, the socio-economic implication, you might just be thinking, imagine 1.4 million underperformed. Do you know the impact of those 1.5 million if they did well to the Nigerian economy?
That's it.
If they were fixed somewhere, but that shows that we are not even advancing.
We are not growing.
We are not growing at all. So that's a very bad impact on the socio-economic aspect of the country, and also on individuals. These children, most of them will get frustrated, but not for those that are doing TikTok and everything. You have to buckle up and do better. We are just saying this for people to know all the dynamics of this problem. They are the ones that were generated from the board itself, the ones that are personal, the ones that are environmental. Any of them, like every of them, contributed to this mass failure. So that's why we decided to talk about it on today's podcast. Before we end, I would like us to end like we normally do on Vigilant Podcast. We don't leave you there. We leave you with something that you can take home with. So I would like to start with Mr. Odiawa. What's your advice to either the board or the kids, not kids, the wards that were involved in the examination?
To begin with, these are the stakeholders now in this whole exercise. The board, the JAMB, CBT, or whatever it is, they on their own part, when recruiting staff, they should also be well enlightened and well informed, so that they know that they are not just going out to conduct exams alone. They are going to conduct individuals much more. The age brackets of the people writing the exams now are different. They are quite young compared to 10, 20 years ago, where you see gray-haired people coming in to write exams.
That's true.
So now they should know that the personnel they are hiring to conduct these exams as supervisors need to be well informed and be very, very efficient, and also computer literate. It's very, very important, because when these things begin to fail, it's tantamount to this failure now, which we are seeing. Then on the part of the children on their own part, who are also engaging in the exams, fine, yes, some lapses might discourage them, but also they should muscle up. They shouldn't get distracted. Concerning, there are so many things now on board. We have DSTV stations distracting. We have GoTV stations distracting. You have an exam. You have some children with like a descal attitude going to watch probably maybe Big Brother, or maybe they're in some viewing center watching football.
Bet Niger too.
You know. And then they see the whole frenzy and razzmatazz of Yahoo boys flaunting their GLK Benzes. They get distracted. So on the part of the students, they should also learn how to know how to be focused so as to concentrate, because even when they get into that high institution, there'll be more distractions.
Not to talk down on those people, like we mentioned, GoTV, DSTV, Bet Niger.
No, I'm not.
They're actually good, but then when you have a priority, you have to face it, and there are also age limits to these things. You are under 18 and you're going to betting centers. You're not doing good to yourself.
In life, there should be a skill of preference. What comes first?
Okay, Grace, what's your advice?
Yes, I just as he has said a lot. So adding to that, I would say promoting parental engagement. So whereby some parents, they don't, because of the economic state now, father don't go work early in the morning, mother, everybody hustle, jama. So they don't even care about the future of the children. So let's try to promote parenting engagement, whereby you engage your children academically, supervise them. Even if you are an illiterate, there are some steps you can take. Maybe if it is a coaching center, you have to register the child and all of that. Monitor the children. Some children, I can remember when we were coming up, my mother, I used to say one thing. My mom will always shout, go and carry your book. Now, is it not just for me to carry it and do like this? I'll be glancing through it now. Whether the manner in which I read it or what I've gained that particular day, you don't know. So you try to supervise them. You try to monitor them to know what they are doing. Then skill development. So as you are preparing for the JAMB, just as we have been saying, maybe is this poor illiteracy about computer is adding to the factors. Then if it is computer skill acquisition you want to go and acquire, then for that period of time as you are waiting, then you can go and acquire. If it is another skill, for you not to go and wait in vain for 4 years like me, you understand? That looking back, that 4 years, if I have going to use it in another thing, and I can still go back to education anytime, any day. So that is it. Then this to me, I don't know if people are having issue with it, but to me, I'm having issue with it. I'm a child that I left secondary school at a very tender age. Maybe I think 14 years. 14, you understand? 14 years. Then, if you are to ask me now, I cannot allow my child to enter school 15
Thank you
years.
for saying this.
Yes.
Thank you.
I cannot. Because age add to education. Let me give you an instance. As a child of 5 years, if you ask a child of 5 years, 10 plus 10, that child have to be cracking his or her brain to get the answer. But if you ask my grandma that did not go to school, that have not seen any 4 wall of the school, 5 plus 5, because of her maturity and experience in life, she can be able to say 5 plus 5 is 10. Do you understand? Age add to education, my dear.
Yes.
So I don't know if people are having. So some people can be against it. I can't be right. But that is my own opinion.
Yes.
So that is it. We should know how to because even then I'm not even regretting why did I enter school early? Because if I entered school earlier at that stage,
eventually you even
I will
entered at the right.
I'll be carried away. I'll be carried away. So that's another issue.
Yes, what you said about age having something to do with brain development is very true.
Definitely.
Let me tell myself, I was to write common entrance. I was very intelligent. Common entrance at 9. The headmaster refused and told my mom she's intelligent, yes, but she's still very young. She cannot go and write common entrance. My mom, if she's not going to write, I will withdraw her. And you know it's a private school, so they needed pupils, and they allowed me to write. I was one of the best, even when I went but then in secondary school, I met competitions, and some of the things they were talking about, my brain could not comprehend. I was just looking lost, and I was like, I know I've never I feel in a third position. Like if I come back with third position, my mom will be like, "Oh, you actually did very poor this term."
And they'll remind you they were taking first in their time.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, but when I got to secondary school, I knew that it's not that I wasn't intelligent, but something has happened to how they say it, at the right place.
At the wrong time.
At the wrong time, definitely.
Yes, I was supposed to go to secondary school, but not at that age.
Particular time.
Imagine a child of 10. I mean, just what am I doing there? What am I doing there? Because the actual age is supposed to be 12, 13. So what am I doing at 9 to 10 in JSS1? Doing what?
And that was the
solving
time
simultaneous equation
secondary school
that I don't even know. So I think some of these you see parents saying, my child is 13 and is in SS2. they say it with pride. They think it's like is
achievement.
It's an achievement that your child is 13 and is in SS2. Have you checked the brain of that child? Recently, my cousin, he's 8. They say that they came back and that our teacher said that there is one exam that I will write. And I will now move to JS2. I say, if I see you and that your teacher.
That is why we have high percentage of educated fools in this society.
If I get you and that your teacher, what is a child of 8 doing in JS2? What do you want to go and do there? Someone that you're supposed to be singing blah 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 sheep. You want to go to JS2 and do it. So these things they have a way of contributing to the mental development of Nigerian students. If you look at this, like you mentioned, the age range that wrote this exam, you see 14, 13. Even JAMB was holding most of them that you cannot, because I think they are doing something about NIN now, but most of them are still 15 and getting NIN just to write JAMB. Well, I think they should be more serious with the age range that are writing this exam.
I think that advice should go to the parents who are stampeding the children.
And I think another way of solving this is attending to the root causes. We have seen the issues of like inferior or substandard education, mostly in the north. These people, they are just patching education. Let's just cook it anyhow and let them start going, fix them in. Somebody will study medicine with 165 It doesn't make sense with people that score 300, and
That
because
is what equity in education.
you just want to fix them somewhere because they are from the north. But have you checked in the long run? Now those people go carry injection put for the wrong for the wrong vein. So these things, they have a way of contributing to the
Psyche.
whatever, to the root of education. We should solve these things, the quality of education, and we should also advance. One thing I have learned is that your child must not be in a school environment to be educated. If it's not working, if you're in the north and you are having cases of adoption, your education shouldn't end in the school environment. You can continue in the four walls of your home. And if you go abroad, they are doing homeschooling.
Yes, definitely.
You will see children, they have not been to any school, but you cannot, if they talk to you, if they solve maths, if they do things, you'll be opening mouth. They were homeschooled.
That reminds me, when I was in school, one of my senior lecturer, he said he has a son.
Yeah.
He never allowed, after secondary school, is it secondary school or primary school, he never allowed him to enter any forward of education. He went to go and he fly him abroad, go and be learning this is it all those electrical
tech,
tech. The guy is doing like greatly massive well.
That's it. You
now,
don't have to
and
go.
he
don't
don't have any
to
formal
be
certificate
with other students or for you to be educated. If it is not working, if that school environment kind of education is not working in your area, you can devise another means to get yourself educated. And coming to the part of JAMB, I think they should make mock exams compulsory, because most of the issues we are having is that they have not sat in that kind of environment before. It's just their first time. There must be mistakes. Like I said, some people will submit before the time, not knowing that they have submitted, except they will just be looking, and they will just write, you have submitted, you can go. So I think mock exams should be made compulsory, at least to a very large extent. Yeah.
Now, if they organize that mock exam, how is it going to be organized? So in a bit now, as advice now to JAMB, so for instance, when you buy a gadget now, brand new, terrible, there's always a manual.
Yeah.
So for instance, now gadgets like this now, I think CBT JAMB now should actually have a CD plate or maybe a drive.
Yes.
Which they can use to install in a system, and then maybe probably a month or weeks before the exam, they can install on a system, and then they can get conversant to the interface.
They do before. I don't know.
Even when if you register, once you register for JAMB, they'll give you a CD. But the thing is that
has corruption set
no, we don't even have a CD at home. So, and if you don't have a what's it called, a laptop or a computer to play it, it's just most Nigerian homes, they don't have CD players anymore. So you just give them and they'll just fly it there because there's no way to play it. But if it's something that you can send to their phone, once you are registering, they will send you a link to go and be watching these things. You advance
with their phones.
With the generation. Yes, you know that everything they are doing now is on their phones.
Yeah, move with the trend.
Forget that this. Even JAMB, their chairman or whoever, he gets CD for in-house. Those things are no longer existing.
So that means they themselves are not even receptive to change.
They should move with the trend.
Yes, they should develop themselves. It's not about complaining that there's mass value. There are places rather where they too, they are getting it wrong. So why they are blaming students of not doing well or performing poorly, they should also advance at their own end. I think we have talked much on the part of advising both students, government, the exam board about doing things in order to better the upcoming exams. And with that, we have come to the end of today's podcast, and we hope that you listen and you learned. Thank you.